नमस्कार बच्चों, welcome to the virtual class. Students, we have seen that in the Indian economic development, after studying about the concept of employment, today in this class we will studying about the concept of infrastructure. Students, in this today's world, can you imagine the situation where a person or in the society or in the economy we are living with all kind of the modern technologies and modern facilities? At the same time, is it possible to live in this present world without the basic or without the facilities of transport, communication, or the other infrastructure like health, education? So of course we will not able to survive. So today here in this episode we will be studying about the topic of infrastructure. So here we need to understand the concept of infrastructure. What is the meaning of infrastructure? So the concept of infrastructure says that it is the basic element, the support system to the social and economic development of an economy, which helps in the productive activities of the economy. Or we can say that those facilities, those support system provided to the economy by the infrastructure by which the production of all the goods and services are possible, and through that these facilities are being utilized by the people. So we can say that today in this present world, without this kind of infrastructure which helps in the social and economic development of the economy or economic development of the country. So here one by one we will see how we can study the infrastructure and how the concept of infrastructure is being divided or it is being broadly classified. So first of all we will see how the infrastructure is being classified. So we will see that how the classification of infrastructure is being done. As I told you, infrastructure is a core element which provides support system to the social and economic development. So here when you are talking about the classification of infrastructure, it can be classified as a two broad category, that is social infrastructure and the economic infrastructure. So the economic infrastructure. So here, so what we have done, we have divided these infrastructure into two broad category, that is social infrastructure and the economic infrastructure. So here we will detailedly study about what is the meaning of social infrastructure and the meaning of economic infrastructure. So students, when you are talking about the social infrastructure, here the social infrastructure will include all those elements which act as the support system to bring the social changes in the economy. So it includes the element of education, first one, and the second one is health. So this health and the education are considered to be the two basic important elements of the social infrastructure, where a country need to have these kind of facility, these kind of infrastructure so that the developmental activity that is which is being measured in terms of social changes, which brings the social changes in the economy, where we can say that by having these kind of facilities or these kind of infrastructure, the country will gain a social changes in the economy, or we can say that it will indicate the human development or the development of human resource in that country. So by the help of these infrastructure only, that is the education and health, a country can get a healthy population, and it can get a huge abundant quantity of the human resources, the quality human resources in the country. So later on we'll study about these two infrastructure, that is the education and health in our country, what is the scenario of health system in our country, and what is the conditions of education system in our country. So these two will be discussed later on. So these are the two basic infrastructure facility when we study about the social infrastructure. And now we will come to the second one, that is the economic infrastructure. So what do you mean by economic infrastructure? Again, as I told you, infrastructure means what? The element which brings the which brings the changes, which act as support to bring the changes in the development, that is the economic development. So here in the economic infrastructure, it will include the elements like power, that is, it can be said as the energy, then transport, and one more thing is included in the economic infrastructure, that is communication. So students, these three basic components of economic infrastructure, or we can say that these basic elements of economic infrastructure, which brings or which act as the support system for bringing up the economic development in the country, or economic development in the economy. So here also we'll see that we have the three components or three elements, that is power, transport and communication. We all know that all the productive activities, the production of goods and services are being carried out in all the production units with the help of energy. The energy which is being created through the conventional method and the non-conventional method, or we can say that this energy can be classified as the renewable energy and the non-renewable energy. So here, after that, we see that we have the element of transport. So today in this modern world, you know that how the means of transport act as the very important element or very important aspect in our day-to-day life and in our development, that is the development of a country or development of an economy. So here, as we know that these transport system or these transport facility can be further classified as the road transport, the land transport, and air and the water transport. So again we can say that the transport act as one of the important element in the economic development, or which brings the economic changes in the country or in the economy. And at last we have one more element in the economic infrastructure, that is communication. Communication is one of the latest development which is being developed and which is being invented from the 20th century. So because of the communication only, even today I am interacting with you through this virtual class only because of the facility of communication, the development in our communication. So by the help of development in the communication technology, the economic development throughout the world is growing in a faster way. So communication is being considered to be one of the basic element in the economic development. So students, these are the two basic infrastructure which is being classified into social and the economic infrastructure, though we classify them as two different elements in the economic development, but even though these two infrastructures are being combined together, they are complementary to each other, and again these two elements, that is social and economic infrastructure, reinforce one another to have a greater economic development in the country. So look at the table here. The economic and social infrastructure are complementary to each other. Economic infrastructure includes sources of energy, better means of transport and communications. Besides, efficient system of banking and finance. All these elements of economic changes are an essential prerequisite of economic growth, but would these elements of economic infrastructure be of any use if the bulk of population of a country continues to be illiterate and suffers from diseases and sickness? Perhaps not. This points to the significance of social infrastructure only when the element of economic and social infrastructure are fused together that the process of economic growth and development would become a dynamic process yielding an all-round prosperity of a human life. Okay, students, after studying about the classification of infrastructure as social infrastructure and economic infrastructure, now we will study about the contributions made by the infrastructures, by the economic and social infrastructures in the growth and development of an economy. So here, next, we will discuss about the infrastructure and development. Development. Here we will detailedly discuss about the changes or the impact which have been brought by these infrastructure in the growth and development of an economy. So students, look at carefully. So here we will see that how the infrastructure is being considered to be the basic element in the process of growth and development of an economy. First one, infrastructure impacts productivity. So that productivity can be studied in three sectors, that is productivity in primary sector. So think of agricultural production without permanent means of irrigations. Agricultural production would be then depend entirely on rainfall. Farmers would sow the seeds only if it is rain. If the rainfall is deficient, sowing would be deficient. It means that in the absence of permanent means of irrigation, that is the important component of economic infrastructure, the actual output of agriculture would be remain much lower than the potential output. Second one, productivity in secondary sector. So here think of the industrial production without the sources of energy as coal, petroleum and electricity. Perhaps the industrial production would then depend upon the wind energy or the solar energy. However, these are the still underdeveloped sources of energy. Accordingly, in the absence of conventional source of energy, that is coal, petroleum and electricity, we cannot achieve high level of productivity in the area of industrial production. Then the productivity in the tertiary sector. Come in the tertiary sector, let us consider tourism as a production activity. Can tourism be a high productive activity in the absence of rapid means of transport and communication? Certainly not. In the absence of rapid means of transport and communication, tourism would perhaps exist only as a hobby of an explorer like Columbus and Vasco da Gama. Thus, among all the sectors of production activities, primary, secondary and tertiary, high productivity is possible only when we have a strong support system in terms of infrastructure facility. Then the second point, infrastructure induces investment. Infrastructure induces investment. The low investment points a low level of production and backwardness of an economy. And lack of infrastructure explains low level of investment. Would anyone make an investment in says textile industry without facility of transport? Even when one is sure of his sales across the border? Certainly not. Lack of means of transport would discourage the entrepreneur to undertake production beyond what is locally demanded. Third one, infrastructure generates linkage in production. Developed means of transport and communication, ample the sources of energy and robust system of banking and finance generate an environment of inter-industrial linkage. It is a situation when expansion of one industry facilitates the expansion of the other. Accordingly, the growth becomes a dynamic process and self-propelling activity of changes. Then come to the fourth one, that is infrastructure enhances size of the market. We know large scale production is possible only when size of the market is large. Infrastructure enhances size of the market. It was with a view to expanding size of the market for British products in India, that in the development of railways, that is the other means of transport. were given a priority under the British Raj. The means of transport are the important component of economic infrastructure and center to the growth and expansion of an efficient marketing system. Then the fifth one, infrastructure enhances ability to work. Here we are referring to a social infrastructure, the educational institutions, healthcare systems, and similar to the other facility promotes skill formation and therefore ability to work of the people. This enhances the efficiency, which is an important determinant of productivity and growth. Then the sixth one, that is infrastructure facilitates outsourcing. A country having a robust system of infrastructure emerges as a destination for outsourcing. India is emerging to be the global destination for call centers, study centers, medical transcriptions, and the other services, owing largely to its sound system of social infrastructure centering around a revolutionary growth in the IT sector. Then at the last one, that is the seventh point, infrastructure induces FDI, that is foreign direct investment. The foreign direct investment is the instrumental in the growth of process in less developed countries like India, where the domestic investment is very low since 1991. FDI has substantially scaled up in the Indian economy thanks to the expanding infrastructure. So briefly, we can say that infrastructure is an important determinant of growth and development of a country. So students, after studying about the infrastructure and its impact on the growth and development of the economy, now we study about the state of infrastructure in our country. So here when we're talking about the state of infrastructure in our country, so here basically we study about two elements, that is the energy, we study about the energy and health. So health and energy are the two basic elements in the growth and development of an economy, and based on these two elements now we will study what are the state, what are the conditions of these two infrastructure or these two elements in our country. So we will start studying about the energy. First of all, we look at the condition of infrastructure, that is energy in our country. Energy. Okay students, here when we are talking about the infrastructure, that is energy, the element of energy, further the energy can be classified as the sources of as the commercial and non-commercial energy. So here we need to differentiate between the meaning of commercial energy and the non-commercial energy. So with the word, the concept of commercial, we can understand that those sources of energy which are being used in a commercial manner or which can be used in a larger production activity, where the sources of energy is being derived from coal, petroleum products and the natural gases. And apart from that, the non-commercial energies are those kind of energy which are being utilized in a small scale or which are being utilized in the households. Take an example of firewoods, the countdown cakes and the wastages which are being utilized as a source of energy in the households. So here look at the table, we'll try to understand the differentiate between these two energies. We can see the difference between commercial energy and non-commercial energy. The first one, the component. In commercial energy, coal, petroleum products, natural gas and electricity is considered to be the component of commercial source of energy. In the non-commercial source of energy, that is firewood, animal waste and agricultural waste. Then we see the use. Here the commercial energy is largely used in the industries and for the commercial purposes, whereas the non-commercial energy is being utilized largely in the domestic or consumption purpose. And the third one, that is nature of goods. Here the goods of commercial energy are traded through the market. there is a domestic as well as international market for these goods. Whereas in the non-commercial energy, goods of non-commercial energy are generally procured by the villagers as free goods. The market of these goods are confined only to the local area. So students, we have seen about the difference between the commercial and the non-commercial energy. And apart from that, one more classification we can do in this energy, where this energy can be further classified as the conventional sources of as conventional sources and non-conventional sources. So again here, when we are classifying the energy into two categories, that is conventional source and the non-conventional source, here we are telling about the sources, the generation of these energy, how this energy is being generated or it is being derived from the nature. So here we will study about the sources, how these energies are being derived and how they are being utilized in the growth and development of a country or the productive activity. Conventional sources of energy are those sources of energy which have a long history of their knowledge and uses. Take an example of the sources of energy which are being derived from the coal, the petroleum products, and the natural gas. So these are the example of the conventional sources of energy. Whereas the non-conventional sources of energies are those sources of energy which are being invented or which are being researched in the recent days. Take an example of the wind energy, the solar energy, and those energies which are being generated through tides and the waves of the ocean. So they are the conventional and non-conventional sources of energy which are being classified or which are being categorized under the energy infrastructure. So here, look at the table. This table explains about the difference between the conventional sources of energy and the non-conventional sources of energy. So here, the conventional sources of energy, these includes coal, petroleum and electricity. Whereas the non-conventional sources of energy includes the solar energy, wind energy and biomass, etc. The conventional sources of energy are being used as the diverse source of commercial energy over a long period of time, whereas the non-conventional sources of energy are only in the experimentation stage and are being used as a diverse source of commercial energy only to a little extent. And at last, the conventional source of energy in India, the conventional source of energy, that is coal and petroleum, are being used in total disregard to the environment. Whereas the non-conventional source of energy, these are being developed as the sources of commercial energy with a view to checking the environmental pollution. Okay, students, after studying about the status of energy, now we study about the health. So health is being considered to be the one of the social element or the element which helps in the social changes or social growth and development in the economy. So here, when you're talking about the health, it is the component which brings the physical, mental and social well-being of the people. So here we will study how the health infrastructure brings up the social changes in the economy. So to study about the contributions made by the health or the health sector, so in our country, we need to study about the conditions of health sector after independence. So after getting the independence from the Britishers, we need to study how was our health system. So the first we'll see that the health system of a country after independence. So in our country, subsequent upon the planned development, there has been a large scale improvement in the health facility for last 65 years. So these are decline in death rate, reduction in infant mortality rate, rise in expectancy of life, The fourth one, control over deadly diseases. And at last, we have a under 5 mortality rate. That is, under 5 mortality rate have reduced significantly from 248 per thousand in 1960 to 245 per thousand in 2014. India is set to achieve its Millennium Development Goal, that is MDG, for under 5 mortality by 2017. So these are the basic changes which we have seen in our health system, or due to the better health system, how it impacted our social life in the country. And after this, we'll study about the healthcare system in our country after the independence. So we have to study about how was our, so here we'll see about the healthcare system in our country. Okay students, after studying about the healthcare system of India after independence, now we'll discuss about the healthcare system in India, how the healthcare system is being implemented in three different tiers. We'll study about what are the three tiers of healthcare system which is being implemented in our country. So India has three-tier healthcare system. Tier 1, it includes the PHC, that is primary healthcare center, CHC, community healthcare centers and sub-centers. These are small hospitals or healthcare centers set up mostly in small towns and rural areas and managed by single doctor and ANMs. Second one, Tier 2. In Tier 2 healthcare system, here it includes the secondary healthcare institutions. These institutions are upgraded compared to PHC and have facilities for surgery, ECG and X-rays. They are located in big towns and district headquarters. And at last, the Tier 3, which includes tertiary healthcare centers. These are high-ended and fully equipped medical centers offering specialized medical facilities. These tertiary sectors are also includes the educational and research centers such as AIMS, the All India Medical Institute of Medical Science, PGI, that is Postgraduate Institution at Chandigarh, and NIMHNS, that is National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences at Bangalore. So students, these are the healthcare system which you have seen so far in our country. These are the healthcare systems which are being implemented in our country in three different tiers. Okay students, that's all for today. So based on today's study, I have given some homework and I hope you can do this homework very easily at your home, and in case of any doubt, you can contact us. So note down the homework. So students, that's all for today. We'll meet in the next episode with a new concept. Until then, take care, stay safe. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.